Hey there, fellow cultists. This is DM Nell, and I'm back with another Shadow Talk. This is episode number 137, and today we're going to be continuing the discussion on the Tales of the Demon Lord and covering Chapter 8, the adventures called In the Name of Love. But before we get to that, let's talk about some news. Not much to cover here, but there is some. So the first thing is a product that has been released over the last week or so, and this is for another adventure for When the Wolf Comes. The adventure is called Mother's Night, and I assume that it continues the Well of Fate. Maybe not. This is called Mother's Night, so I don't know if it continues the adventure path, but I believe it does. Okay, so let's just read through this here. It says, fleeing the destruction of Mimas Brunner, the players must battle a weaver sent to repair the timelines, only to crash land in a distant era. Stranded in the heart of this heroic age, they must come to the aid of the legendary King Beowulf and spare his people the ravages of a terrifying dragon. This actually kind of sounds like a standalone adventure, although I don't know that for a fact. It is a mythic tier adventure, but I don't know if it's part of the adventure path, which is called the Thought and Memory Saga. It doesn't mention that. The others had. So this might be a standalone adventure, but it may be a continuation. I'm not really sure. So if you're interested to find out, you would have to go to DriveThruRPG and pick it up. Okay, that's it for new products. So let's talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. So the big news on the Kickstarter is that we have the first product that was promised out of the Kickstarter, and that is the Shadow the Weird Wizard Player Guide. Now, it doesn't actually say Player Guide anywhere in here, but that's pretty much what it is. There's not really any GM-specific information in this book. It's all player-facing information, and I'm glad that it is a separate book. That way we don't have GM information mixed in with a player's guide. Like Shadow the Weird Wizard was an all-in-one book. And although it's nice to have one book as a GM, it's difficult to keep the players from, looking at the GM stuff. So it's always best to have a player's guide, I feel, as a separate product. The player's handbook is a player's guide. But most other independent RPGs produce, like an all-in-one book. Luckily, Robert Schwalb, in his infinite wisdom, decided to go that route, go the separate route, or the route of having separate books. So the first book release is Shadow the Weird Wizard, and it is 200 and some odd pages long. It's got all the stuff that you would need to create a character and to run a character. We will go through this probably in more detail after I have an opportunity to read it. I have skimmed it and I've read a couple of areas of the book, but I have not done a deep dive as of yet. So I really don't want to cover this information until I have had a chance to familiarize myself with it at the very least. And then I'd like to do some videos like I did with Shadow the Demon Lord, which show you how to play the game, how to run each of the character types, at least the novice character types, and then how magic works, and then how to utilize it in a VTT. Now, currently, the only VTT that supports Shadow the Weird Wizard is Foundry, at least the only one that I'm aware of. I have not seen any character sheets built in Roll20, and I don't use any of the other VTTs, so I don't know if what's it called? You know that one, Fantasy Grounds. I don't know if Fantasy Grounds is planning on supporting Shadow the Weird Wizard. I would imagine it will, but I don't know if it has set up anything for it as of yet. But I do know that Foundry does have a module for Shadow the Weird Wizard, and I've been playing with it. I will be doing some videos about how to utilize Foundry to support your Shadow the Weird Wizard campaign. But that's a little bit down the road. Probably won't even get to play this game until the GM book comes out, which will have the monster stat blocks and will have all the information that the GM needs, the Sage, that the Sage needs in order to run the game. So the DM or the GM in Shadow of the Weird Wizard is supposed to be called the Sage. That's going to be a hard habit to break because I'm, old school DM, GM type of guy. Okay, so at any rate, that's Shadow of the Weird Wizard. There is one thing I want to show you from Shadow of the Weird Wizard that I've been looking forward to, and that is actually at the very back of the book. A couple things, actually. So we have the map of the Borderlands. And so it's on the side here, so you kind of have to twist your head to view it properly. But the map of the Borderlands is available. Now this is the thing. I've been trying to keep up with the play testing and all that, but it was difficult for me to wrap my head around what type of games to run because I didn't have the context of what the Borderlands was to the game, other than the written word, which can only go so far in my feeble brain. And so I need visual aids, and maps are really helpful. And we do finally have a map. It's at the back of the book here. What I do hope is that Robert Schwalb will provide us a high resolution copy of the map so that we can utilize it on our VTTs. Right now, this is a fairly low resolution. I did take a screenshot of it and put it in Foundry, but when you zoom in on it, it's kind of the lettering is pretty fuzzy. It's legible but fuzzy. So I hope that we do get a high resolution version of the map before the Kickstarter ends. There's also the character sheet in here, and he did provide a copy of the character sheet here with this last update yesterday. So you can get a copy of the character sheet if you were part of the Kickstarter. It's a very simplistic, minimalist character sheet. Just basically boxes to put your information in. There's no graphics. Like the Shadow of the Demon Lord was graphically represented as a pentagram, and it had all the traits and stuff surrounding the pentagram, which I thought was appropriate given the nature of the game. Shadow of the Weird Wizard being a heroic fantasy game, obviously wouldn't have a pentagram. I was kind of hoping for some kind of graphic character sheet, but they went with a more simplistic version, which is fine. It's just kind of boring, I guess. Not really even a place to draw a picture of your character, which of course you can do on the back of the character sheet, which I did, back in the day. But at any rate, this character sheet is of course usable. It's got slots for everything that you would need in here, so that character sheet is now available. All right, so that is the Shadow of the Weird Wizard update, and we will do more coverage of Shadow of the Weird Wizard as we get more deeply into that. All right, so let's move on to the main topic of this video. So we're talking about the Tales of the Demon Lord In the Name of Love is the adventure immediately following the Minds of Madness. Now, I have a confession to make. The confession is I did not run this adventure when I ran the Tales of the Demon Lord campaign. So why would I not do that? Perfectly good adventures, part of the campaign, right? Well, it kind of is and kind of isn't. This adventure really doesn't have a firm connection to the overarching storyline in Tales of the Demon Lord. It's more of a side quest, and it really didn't. By the time that I got to this adventure in the campaign that I ran, I was ready to start building more of the overarching storyline into the adventures. Up to this point, there had only been a couple of adventures that really even touched on the main story of this campaign. And this adventure doesn't talk about it at all. It has nothing to do with the main storyline. And so I decided to forego this and just insert my own adventure. However, this is a full adventure. It is a 4-page adventure, whereas most of the other adventures in this book were 2 to 4 pages. This is a longer adventure, but there's really not a whole lot to it. I believe in reading through this it is mostly intended to be a social interaction type of adventure. Now, of course, there's always opportunities for combat, but given the storyline here for this adventure, it seems like your characters are going to be interacting with the NPCs of the town and trying to stop something from occurring. So let's just back up a little bit here and look at the introduction for the adventure. So this is an adventure for expert characters. Silas Branson did a bad thing. 3 days ago, the woodcutter killed Sala Reed, his betrothed, within sight of the Blackthorn, an accursed tree marking a place where the boundaries between reality and the void has grown thin. Silas never intended to kill Sala. In truth, he wanted to save their relationship and to make her understand that rumors she had heard about him were lies. But the more he explained, the angrier he became. She tried to flee and tripped, falling to strike her head on a rock. The blood sluicing from the mortal wound caused the Blackthorn's trunk to split, revealing a demonic figure trapped within. Because only a trace of Sala's blood touched the ground near the Blackthorn, the demon was forced back inside. However, the creature's near appearance combined with Sala's death to break Silas's mind. As he dug a shallow grave, the woodcutter came to the conclusion that the figure inside the tree must be an old god trapped by dark magic, because, why not? And waiting to be freed by a blood sacrifice. If Silas succeeds in his plan, he will loose a demon from the Blackthorn and most likely destroy his community and everyone in it. The player characters complete this adventure when they stop Mad Silas from releasing the demon from the Blackthorn, or when they destroy the demon if it slips free. So the focus of this adventure is that background. It takes place in the town of Verge, which is a fairly small town. There's a map over here, and you can see there's maybe a dozen buildings and several settlements in the surrounding area, and then there's a nearby forested area. So the detail of the village of Verge, or the town of Verge, is the first item here. So you have a place called the Exchange. You have a place called the Green Man Public House. You have a place called the Old Well, Standing Stones, and then the Temple of Light. Okay, so the rest of this adventure, or the next section of the adventure, basically talks about NPCs. So how your adventurers get here, what they do, that is part of what you are going to have to figure out if you're going to run this adventure. If you want to tie it into the main storyline, you're going to have to build that in. There's nothing here to help you do that. Now, of course, you've got a demon, and the Brotherhood of Shadows are trying to bring in the Demon Lord. So there could be some connective tissue there to the overarching storyline. But again, you're going to have to bring in your own hooks, and you're going to have to find a way to get the characters here to start interacting with the characters or the NPCs in Verge. And in order to help you do that, there is a list of rumors here. So once the characters are in town and once they start interacting with people, then they may have an opportunity to learn some of these rumors. And there's a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rumors. Then we get into the NPC section. The NPC section starts off with Dolores the Constable. Then we go to Blister the Spy, Craven, Elder Zeke, who's the mayor, Izard the scoundrel, Kyra Peen, Lesser Zeke, Mary Peen, Silas Branson, who is the main antagonist, Sister Matilda, and Xavian. So, and with each of these NPCs, you can see there's at least a couple of paragraphs, if not more, providing information for that NPC, and some hooks to tell you how each connects to each other. So the bullet points here, like for example, the constable suspects that Branson had something to do with Solari's disappearance. However, she lacks proof and can do nothing until she finds it. Whereas you jump down here to Elder Zeke, the mayor. Elder Zeke lusts after Mary Peen and intends to wed and bed her, whether she wants him or not. He's gathering funds to bribe her mother, Kyra Peen, to force Mary to accept his offer. He has no idea that Mary and Craven have been engaged in a tryst. You got Izard the scoundrel. Just various NPCs. So you would have to familiarize yourself with each NPC, how they connect with the others, and keep that in mind as you are running the adventure. Now here is kind of a visual guide which helps you, visualize who's connected to who. It's not too helpful, really, but it's there if you want to use it. And then we go into the events near Verge. Now this is kind of your guide to what happens while the PCs are in Verge, and kind of helps move the story along. So day 1, brigands see area 4. Attack a farm, murdering a family, and leaving behind signs that resemble dark speech, meant to implicate beastmen in the attack. The signs are, in fact, meaningless scribbles. Mary Peen confides in Sister Matilda. Silas Branson mounts another search for Solari that turns up nothing. Day 2, Izard checks on Craven and beats him savagely. Tom of the Green Man Public House spots a warg in the woods. Either the bandits attack another farm or the tier thieves emerge from the well and kill Tom. They leave his corpse in plain view outside the Green Man. And then day 3, at night, Silas, Izard, and Lesser Zeke fetch Craven and drag him to the Black Thorn. They cut his throat, spraying the evil tree with his blood. The demon Katanka emerges. Mr. Katanka! I don't. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know if that's the guy's name from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think it is. Sounds right. Anyway, Katanka is the name of the demon. Emerges and butchers its liberators and attacks Verge. There's some random events here that can be rolled, and then we have the actual places of interest for the adventure. As the adventure unfolds, the characters might be drawn to the following locations. The actual Blackthorn is right down here in this hex. Troll's Teeth is up here in this hex. The Shed is, I'm not sure where that is. It's number 4, must be down here. And then number 4 is up here, the Brigand Cave. And then of course Verge is over here. Okay, so what type of adversaries are we talking about here? Well, just from the random events, you got brigands, you've got wargs, and you've got potentially a couple of drakes. And then if you go into the places of interest, you've got, of course, from the Blackthorn, you've got demons. Then you have in the Troll's Teeth, you've got 10 large wolves and 15 wargs. And then in the area that's called the Shed, you've got no actual creatures, but you do have one of the NPCs found there. And then the Brigand Cave, of course, has brigands. So that's what you're looking at as far as the creatures that would be encountered here. And there might be more that I am forgetting about from some of the other areas here, but I think that pretty much covers it. So that's it. I mean, there's really not much to this adventure. It's a role-playing adventure for the most part. You go in, you interact with the NPCs. The NPCs give you information which tells you your player characters, what's going on eventually, and hopefully in time to stop the demons from being released from the demon tree. And that's it. I mean, a great opportunity to start using the social combat rules from Shadow of the Demon Lord. But, make of it what you want. This adventure is here to use if you want to use it as part of this campaign. It certainly doesn't hurt it, but it certainly doesn't further it along either. So my recommendation, if you want to do a heavy role-playing session, then keep it in. However, if it is too much of a divergence from the main storyline and you want to start building that storyline up with your player characters, and I would suggest doing something different. What I did instead of this particular adventure and also the next adventure is I created my own adventure and I called it The Asylum, where the PCs find out more about Lucretia. So in the overarching storyline, the Brotherhood of Shadows managed to steal an artifact known as or a relic known as the Eye of the Demon Lord, which had been in the possession of the vampire Lucretia for centuries until a demonologist stole it and took it to Crossings. Well, the Brotherhood of Shadows at the beginning of this campaign finds the Eye of the Demon Lord and plan to use it in a ritual to free the Demon Lord from the void, or to bring the Demon Lord into this reality from the void. And the Lucretia, she doesn't want the world to be destroyed because she exists in the world, and so she is trying to recover the Eye of the Demon Lord. Now, of course, she's a vampire, and her methods are brutal. So throughout the campaign, I had been having her basically take random people out of Crossings, rip them up to shreds, and use their blood to write a message on the various tall buildings of Crossings. Bring me the eye. Very cryptic message. Nobody in town knows what it means except for, of course, the Brotherhood of Shadows. And so the PCs had been hearing the news, and they had been, they knew that there was some kind of creature, but they didn't know what the nature of the creature was. So I took that opportunity to have an adventure where they finally learn about Lucretia and what she is trying to accomplish. So, of course, Lucretia's stats are back here in the back of the book, and also a picture of her. She is also known as the Lady of Sighs and Sorrows. And it gives the information here. So the way that I started my adventure, the Asylum, was the PCs decided that they were going to try to figure out what creature was leaving these cryptic messages. And so they knew that the creature would tear somebody apart and write these cryptic messages on the tallest buildings in Crossings. So they staked out one of the tallest buildings that had not yet been marked up with these messages. And they saw this flying bat-like creature swoop somebody up out of the streets, rip them to shreds, and use one of their limbs to scrawl "Bring me the eye" on the tower that they were staked out at. And then, more importantly, they saw where the creature went, and they saw the creature flying towards the asylum in the I don't know if it's in the Stax district or I think it's over there, somewhere over there by the Moore house. But at any rate, so they saw the creature flying in that direction. So they follow it as quickly as they can, and they come to the realization that it is likely layered in the asylum or somewhere near the asylum. Now, they already knew of at least one or two NPCs that were in the asylum based on their earlier adventures. So they decided to go in and to talk to the resident doctor and talk to one of the NPCs to try to determine if they knew anything. But ultimately, they found that Lucretia had layered up in the cellar of this place, the asylum. And so they find her, and of course they go to do battle, which would have been a bad idea because at this stage in their career, Lucretia would have probably torn them up. So she stops them and she says, "I am not your enemy." She gives them the story of the Brotherhood of Shadows, what they're trying to accomplish. And she says she only wants to retrieve the Eye of the Demon Lord to prevent them from finishing this ritual that they are building towards. And she has no intention of using the Eye of the Demon Lord for any nefarious purposes. In fact, she had held on to the Eye of the Demon Lord for hundreds of years and had not done anything with it. So there's no reason for them to believe that she was going to perpetuate any further evil with the Eye of the Demon Lord. She simply wants to keep it away from those who would use it to summon the Demon Lord. And so she convinces the PCs to find the Eye of the Demon Lord and bring it back to her for safekeeping. They don't know how to find the Eye of the Demon Lord. They don't know where the Brotherhood of Shadows is. And so Lucretia says, well, if you can find another relic that has an affinity to the Eye of the Demon Lord, then it will lead you to the Eye. And of course, the PCs are asking, well, why don't you go get the Eye of the Demon Lord? You're so powerful and all that. And she says, it has been veiled from me. Some powerful magic has been erected around it, and I cannot find the Eye of the Demon Lord. So I need to work through agents, and you seem to be, you were capable enough to find me. Therefore, I'm going to, rely on you to find the Eye of the Demon Lord to bring it to me. And they're like, okay, we'll do this on one condition. You stop slaughtering people of crossings and stop leaving those cryptic messages. And she says, I will do so until the next full moon, at which point the Brotherhood of Shadows plans on enacting the ritual, and it'll be too late at that point anyway. So you have 3 weeks in order to get me the Eye of the Demon Lord. And they're like, okay, we'll do this. So that was the quest that they got from Lucretia. And so now they're like, well, how do we find another relic that has an affinity? And she says, well, I know of one, and I happen to know where it is located. And so she tells them of the Sword of Unmaking, which just so happens to be it happens to be a relic that is in I believe it's in the Prince of Darkness adventure. Sword of Unmaking. So it is in the Prince of Darkness adventure. And so she tells them that if they find the if they find the Sword of Unmaking, then that will lead them to the Eye of the Demon Lord. And so they're like, okay, well, we will do that. So that was my plug-in adventure to take the place of In the Name of Love. I also skipped Shadow in the Mist. Now, I'm not going to cover Shadow of the Mist today. I'll save that for my next video. But I also skipped Shadow of the Mist and just used the my Asylum adventure to link to the next adventure, which is Off the Rails. So, but Off the Rails is not Prince of Darkness, which is fine. I used Off the Rails to lead me into Prince of Darkness. They didn't, the characters were not comfortable with going directly for the Sword of Unmaking. And so this adventure presented itself as an opportunity for them to kind of bridge the gap between that quest and, you know, getting a little bit more experience that they would need in order to, you know, survive seeking out the Sword of Unmaking. So that's pretty much the flow of how my campaign went from Minds of Madness down to Off the Rails. I skipped these two adventures, but I will still cover them as I did for In the Name of Love. I'm still going to cover the next one in my next video. But I did want to let you guys know that I did not run this, and it might be a super fun adventure. It may fit well with the way that you're running this campaign. It just didn't fit well with mine. All right, so that's it. That's it for today's video. That's all I got. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Appreciate you watching as usual. You know, like and subscribe, all that jazz. If you want to throw a couple of coppers my way, you know, you might want to go out to Roll20 and download some of my token packs, and you know, that gives me a couple bucks here and there. At least helps me pay for my subscription in Roll20. But that's all good. You know, if you use a virtual tabletop, then, you know, those could be useful to you. Otherwise, you know, just if you want to help me out, just like and subscribe, and get me some more subscribers. That would also be useful. Okay, so with that, I'm out of here. And how the hell do I turn this damn thing off? Oh, hell to the Demon Lord.